The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
And welcome. Good morning to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm CJ Ferry, and Chip is currently amongst the missing. I believe he was attacked by a drone en route to the studio, and because of that, again, I'm in the bunker. It's been an interesting week so far. For those of you that may have missed it, there was a singing karaoke sponsored by Bold over at Jerry Remy's restaurant, which was rather interesting to say the least. I'll tell you, it was quite the fun time, and the mayor came right out of Campaign 101. Honestly, just came right out of Campaign 101 and started singing and walked down the stairs and right into the audience. And he had a relatively, I would say, good appearance for the people. They seemed to enjoy it, and I have to say for myself that it was rather good. And it looks like Chip escaped the drone and made it into the studio. Welcome with us, Chip. I'm glad to see that you made it.
First time I've ever been late, but I apologize. But we're out doing due diligence out there in the real world, trying to listen to the pulse of the people.
Yeah, well, you know, I was just talking about Jerry Remy's singing karaoke, which to be honest, I think the mayor did a great job, and he really reached out to the people, and he got his message across. I mean, the people loved it, and I think Fall River really needed that event the other night because it really brought people together, recallers and campaigns, and there was no mishaps, no hateful messages, no you this, you that. And as a matter of fact, the mayor came over and stood right by my table, and there were a whole bunch of recallers and other candidate supporters available. There was no bad vibes, no bad feelings amongst everyone. Everyone got along very well. And I congratulated the mayor. I said, that comes right out of Campaign 101. I said, you took that out of the Eddie Lambert playbook. I mean, it was amazing. So, some people couldn't sing to save their life, but, they still put a good effort forward. And you have to admit, I mean, everyone was there except for Lou Mellon. And Lou has already made it clear that he will not be going to any debate that is not in a public forum. So,
well, he'll be at our debate, right?
Yes, he will.
So that's what counts. But yeah, on that note, CJ, I'm going to go a little mini commentary here. I think in a lot of ways something like that is good. I think people should come together, but unfortunately, I think people should come together after an election. It's my personal opinion, and only my opinion, but I don't think politics and running a government should be a song and dance routine. Shouldn't be Broadway shows, and shouldn't be basically what it's become in this country, which is marketing. Being a mayor is a job. Being a city councilor is a job. And I've said it many, many times on this show, I don't believe that people should elect someone because they can sing or they can dance or they look good on camera or because they had a slick slogan. It should be on performance, and I think that my post to the recall on the recall page basically said that. It's about it's what's important is not who you vote in, it's who you vote out. Because the fact is that I've seen many politicians start off as really, really good people who were representing the people and doing their job, and then somewhere along the line they get lost and they forget who they represent. And it's for us to come together. Having differences of opinion, contrary to popular belief, as I said on the last show, is healthy. Hegel's theory is you never move forward unless you change opinions, and if everybody agrees, you never have any new ideas. It's only one idea. And I think stuff like this should be the way it used to be, which is you fight as hard as you can to get elected, and then when you're over, everybody unites again with a common cause. That common cause is to improve Fall River and make it a better place for the taxpayers. And that is the key. And the key is that we can all unite behind that idea. And regardless of who wins this election, if he does the right thing and he's moving Fall River forward, we should support him. And on the other side of that coin, if they don't do their job, we should all band together as we have in the recall to throw them out. And that's the only way you maintain government of the people. It's when the people determine who the government is. And that's why this thing before an election, it bothers me. You know, singing and dancing and carrying on, to me, is just a diversionary tactic to take away from lack of content or for what the job is about. And, you know, he may have a great singing voice. You know, Eddie Lambert was a great song and dance man, too. But, you know, that should not be part of it. You know, if you're an auto mechanic and you bring your car down to the garage and the guy can't fix your car, we're at the dam, but he can sing and dance, he's not going to go to the auto mechanic anymore, because you're not going down there to watch singing and dancing. You can watch American Idol or whatever show it is. So it doesn't make any difference. So with that little rant, I'll leave that one alone, because that's the reason I didn't go to that debate, because to me, singing and dancing isn't about issues. And this city's got too many issues to ignore.
I agree with you, Chip. I mean, it was, don't get me wrong, it was a fun evening. And those of us that were there had a good time. I got to meet the candidates that did show up. I had some very interesting conversations with Sean Kadim, with Will Flanagan, Dave Dennis, Mike Mioza, and you know, they were very informative, and everyone was very civil, and I thought that was very important. I mean, it really showed that, you know, as bad as this campaign has been getting, and as dirty as it's been getting, people could pull together and just say, let's put that aside, and because really right now, Fall River is so divided, it's unbelievable. I mean, it's worse than the Civil War, I think. You know, I mean.
Yeah, and in actuality, some things never go away. The Civil War is still being fought. If you go down below the Mason-Dixon line, it's not called a Civil War. It's called in some places the War of Secession or the War for States' Rights.
Right.
They still won't acknowledge the fact that they were wrong in trying to divide the Union. So, you know, some things never go away, but we've managed to come together on issues, which is, you know, for the betterment of the country. And there's still always debate. And, you know, on that issue, you know, it shouldn't bother you. I mean, it shouldn't bother anybody. As far as I'm concerned, like I said, there's a thesis, there's an antithesis, and somewhere then you might come with a new idea, a synthesis, and move on. But what we should be doing is arguing over issues. Arguing over how to fix things.
And we know there's plenty of issues out there, that's for sure.
You're right. And rather than personalities and dealing with people's personal lives, and regardless of who it is, and whether it's the mayor's personal life or any other candidate's personal life, these things should not be, this is not part of the issue. Nobody cares if you're you know, as they said, nobody cares if you're auto mechanic or your TV repairman, what he does on his own time. You know, he's there to fix your television or fix your car or whatever. And the thing is that a politician is there to serve the government and serve the people and move this city in a positive way and make sure that the taxpayers get the biggest bang for their buck. That's all they should be judged on. I personally, you know, don't care. The fact is that it's a diversion, and diversions take away. They're always used to take the focus off what is important. Even in the military, you have a diversionary tactic to create an opening to attack. So it's the same thing in politics. They have all these other diversionary issues, which are non-issues, just to take away the fact that We can't focus on how every single candidate is going to fix Fall River.
Well, it's going to take a lot to fix Fall River, but to divest, to be diverted a little bit here to another topic.
Okay.
There's been allegations flying around for some time, and now we've gotten for the first time a form of confirmation, but this is still an allegation that Ron Cabral and Mr. Meade, David Meade, used to have a radio show, and they would talk back and forth constantly. And Mr. Meade has come out and stated emphatically that Ron Cabral has admitted that he was paid off to run for the office of mayor. How true that is, I don't know. I don't have any proof on who supposedly paid him off. I don't know where this allegation came from, but it has been all over Facebook. Mr. Meade has now turned around and deleted several, if not all, of his YouTube videos. And again, it's showing how dirty this politics is getting. I mean, it's rather interesting because at the Jerry Remy bold debate, when they called the mayor up after Ron Cabral had already been up, and anyone who knows Ron's parents know, they basically jumped up out of their seat and were, overhand clapping and, woo woo for the mayor. And I was like, wow, your son didn't even get that from you. I had to say, what's going on there? But, I'm not looking to destroy any campaigns or anything. But, when I asked him very clearly, I said, do you think you have a serious chance at winning this race? He said, well, I'm in it till the end. And I said, well, what do you plan on doing differently? And, well, I'm going to look at the budget. And that was his standard answer for everything. I'm going to look at the budget. And I had to say, okay, you're going to look at the budget. Well, you and I have looked at the budget how many times? And we still go cockeyed when we do it. I mean, it's just interesting what's starting to come out of the woodwork now. I mean, there was a hack video that was posted on YouTube as a private video, and then all of a sudden it became public. I found it when it was right around 70, 80 views, and I notified the candidate who it was about, and then it went viral. All of a sudden, everyone's talking about this video, and the video was tame. There was really nothing to it. But of course, everyone's got to write in their own information where this is actually what's happening. So you have to wonder, how dirty is this campaign going to get before too long? Pretty soon, I'm expecting, cow pies to be thrown around at people because this is getting crazy.
Well, they've said more than once, politics is warfare without bloodshed, and there have been actual campaigns where there has been actual bloodshed too at some point. But the reality is, that's the whole point. I mean, we know this thing happens, but it's the people who determine and allow this to happen because they feed into this stuff. If people just said, look, let's talk about the issues, let's show me what you're going to do, and we're going to put you in office, and if you don't do what you say, and if you don't represent us, and you don't listen to the people, we're going to boot you out. And that would cure a lot of these problems. People are talking about, well, they did this, and this guy get paid. Who knows? Maybe Ron Cabral's parents are giving us a great civics lesson. If your son's running for mayor and he's not the best candidate, support someone else.
Maybe.
I mean, that could be it too. All that conjecture is, to me, irrelevant because it gets away from the core. The core issue is, who can lead this city best? Who's the best leader? Who will take charge of this city? And it's a mess. I mean, there are probably 3 or 4 people who could be competent mayors under normal circumstances. What the people have to realize is this is an extremely unique situation. That's why we had a recall. This city is on the verge of total bankruptcy and going in a toilet. I mean, 2 years ago, I was at a meeting where Sean Kadim said we were $500 million in the hole on our unfunded liabilities. That's increased, probably. So we're over $500 billion, not million, $500 million, $500 million. And he said that to every one of our state reps and our state senator and to the then president of the city council, Linda Perrer, at a meeting in Boston. I was at that meeting. The meeting was called because of me. And he said that we were $500 million of unfunded liabilities, in addition to all the other problems. And at the time, we had our safer grants, and we were getting our host fees. You know, this city needs it needs someone to step into that office who is willing to make some really, really difficult, hard decisions and do some things that out of the gate people are not going to, they're going to be a little, oh my God, I can't believe this. Well, desperate times breed desperate measures. The fact is that, you have to be a realist. If you think that somebody's going to take over and Fall River's going to be, fixed, you're crazy. The fact is that we're all going to have to bite the bullet in some way or another. We're all going to have to suffer. But as long as we're suffering together, and then when a city turns around, we all prosper together, that's the key. That's why it's so important to try to pick the best candidate. But it's more important, and I think it's very, very important, and people want to condemn the recall, but I think the recall was great for something that a lot of people don't realize. We get to see a guy run this city for a very short amount of time. And if he's not going in the right direction, he's not even going to be in a year.
I hear you. Chip, I hear you. And the thing is, the reason why I had brought up the whole allegations around Cabral and a few of the other, diversionary messages I took is because that's exactly what's happening in this campaign, just like you're bringing up. People are trying to divert the attention from themselves. I had a conversation with a candidate in regards to the taxes in the city because they keep going up, but we're not getting anything for it. And here's exactly, and I'm going to quote this candidate, taxes need to keep increasing. We're still at the lowest level of taxes in Massachusetts. And for us to turn the city around, we need more revenue. And because we don't have the businesses, the only place we can get that revenue is from the property owners. Well, I said, well, you know what happens when you just keep taxing the city to death is that the people don't have any money to spend anywhere else, so businesses still don't want to come here, and as a matter of fact, they close and leave. Oh, that won't happen. Another one with the head in the sand. It's like...
No, it's political expediency. They can't do math. When I go before the council and remind them that we're not the lowest in the state, as a matter of fact, the two cities that have the highest amount of businesses of our size, Newton and Cambridge, have lower tax rates than Fall River. Newton has 14,000 businesses, according to the United States Census Bureau, and Fall River has 4,000. They still haven't figured out that businesses go where people have money to spend. The average household income in Newton is over $100,000. The household income in Fall River is $35,000. It's the second lowest in the state. So businesses don't go where people can't spend money. And as far as the tax rate, that's absolute horse manure. Because you've got to look at it in perspective. Hey, politicians, Kenny Fiola with your $250,000 salary and your wife's $250,000 salary. When you got $4 in your pocket, you can't afford a $9 hamburger. Cost is relative. Our tax rate is not low to someone who's making half the state average of income tax. You guys better go back and learn how to do ratios. Look at what ratio our tax rate is to the people's income versus the ratio of people who have higher taxes and even lower taxes than us. You're a bunch of morons. And you don't want to hear it. What you want to do is take the 37, and I said 37% of the people who own property, as opposed to 75% in Newton, and you want to drive another 15% of them out of the city by taxing their ass to death. So why should you live in Fall River? That's the fourth most dangerous city in the Commonwealth, in the top 100 in crime, has all kinds of problems when our tax rate begins to exceed suburbia. You people are total imbeciles, and that's absolute bullshit. So stop shoveling it.
I love your commentaries. I'll tell you right now, they're always great. But, I went to school with a guy named Horatio, and he was pretty good, too. But, it's just interesting to see where things are going because, we saw in the paper today that the Seekonk Board of Selectmen think that Sean Kadim is doing a great job in Seekonk, and they would hate to lose him. But they could understand why he would try to make a step up for a salary less than he's making now.
They can see it. Well, good for them. Well, then again, we have a lot of questions about, many of the candidates. But the fact is, it really upsets me. I'm sorry I went on a little tirade there.
No,
but it's funny. It was funny because I had that exact conversation yesterday at a local restaurant with a patron because she told me about how someone told her our taxes are too low. You've got to expect to pay more. Everybody else pays more. Well, I'll tell you what. When we get to the state average, or even close to the state average, which is almost double with our household income averages, talk to me about tax equity. Talk to me about having taxes to match people in communities that are making twice as much as we are. Because that is absolute political crap. You try to what? You're going to put people on a guilt trip? If you got $1.50, you can't buy a $9 hamburger. That's the reason Remy's is up for sale. Because people can't afford $9 hamburgers in Fall River. That's the reason businesses don't stay here. That's the reason at Taunton, which is about a third of the size of Fall River, maybe a quarter, maybe a third now, we've lost so much population. You get off 44 and 140 and drive into Taunton. Count the restaurants.
Count the businesses.
Count the businesses. It's a third of the size of Fall River, and you boneheads can't figure out why businesses don't come here? Look at the household income in Taunton. But you want us to pay more taxes with no money. At the last city council meeting, I told you what Milton Friedman said. You want to stimulate the economy, reduce taxes, not increase taxes. Now, stop telling us that you guys are getting a good deal. You're paying very, very low taxes. Yeah. We also have less than half the income of the state average and a quarter of the income of the cities that are at the top of the food chain. And that's the reason that you got to fight so hard to try to maintain a low tax rate, maybe to keep people here, put a little bit more money in their pocket, and maybe they can go out and eat once in a while and keep a business in the city. I shouldn't have to spoon feed this to people who claim to have the answers to our political problems, because that's the reason that Fall River has not moved forward over the last decade.
Decade? Boy, that's conservative. Decade?
I remember a couple decades ago, we moved a little bit, but we had more. Look, let's face it, CJ. I remember negotiating against the city with the Viveris administration. We had a $12 million surplus in the surplus funds. We had more businesses. We had more homeowners. We had a higher population. So there was a time. It wasn't the greatest city in the Commonwealth, but it wasn't what it is today. And anybody who thinks that, anybody who says, like, at one time Fall River was a Newton or a Wellesley, well, you're crazy. But Fall River was a much better place in those days. We had people who stayed here. How many people have left? And as I said before many times, if we eliminated the people who came in for subsidized housing over the past 5 or 6 years, our population would probably be under 80,000.
Right. And again, because the population was under 80,000, we'd get less federal and state grants to do anything with. But, that's going to be the big question coming up, because next Tuesday is the People's Debate. And, we've gotten some interesting questions so far that have been submitted via email for the candidates. And it's going to be very interesting to see how this works out. Our moderator, as you know, is Phil Paleologos. And
say that quick 5 times in a row.
Yeah, say that a couple of times. I'm going to ask him to bring some spanna coppita and some baklava to the debate. But he's a great guy. It should be an interesting night. We still have time to get your questions, so please send us your questions at debate at scstonline.com. Send us your questions. They're to be issue related, and they will go into the lottery to be chosen to be asked of all the candidates. The questions are to be directed to all the candidates, not to any one candidate in particular. Any questions which in any way, shape, or form attack a candidate or support a candidate will automatically be excluded from the lottery. But this is a chance for you, the people, to have some say in this. And I'll tell you now, I was expecting a lot more questions than we got, Chip. But hey, I'll take what we can get, because at this point, it seems to me that people are really getting fed up with this whole election process.
Well, I think more or less because it's become so so divisive that people want to ask specific questions about specific candidates and not get to what I said. We have to deal with the real issues of Fall River. Regardless of who we elect, we can vote them out if they don't work for the people. The reality is what we have to do is accurately assess the problems of the city of Fall River, and then ask the questions of how these issues are going to be addressed by each candidate to see who can lead this city out of the problems that we have. And that's the only way we're ever going to get anything done in this city, because, we can all support a candidate, but, I've supported candidates in the past who I thought were going to do a good job, and they did a good job for about 3.5 minutes, and then, they became political hacks. But that's why we have the vote. And as I said at the beginning of the program, and I said in my article, it's more important who you vote out than who you vote in. Because I will guarantee you, come to that debate, listen to the answers you're getting. Because I will guarantee you, if this city begins to vote people out of office that don't do what we want and take this city in a direction that the people want, I guarantee you they will change their attitude.
I think so. I think the politicians are already looking at this very questionably. As a matter of fact, the recall legislation is going in front of the Ordinance Committee for review because they want to change it or get rid of it, which I think if they get rid of it, they're going to be a huge slap in the face to the people of Fall River. But I do think it needs to be modified a little bit. But it's going to be interesting to see how this works out. I mean, from what I understand now, all 3 debates will be televised live. Ours will be carried, the People's Debate on Tuesday will be carried live on FRC TV right here in FRC Media, Channel 95 in Fall River. The Wednesday debate at BK's Restaurant, run by WSAR, will be broadcast live via internet service. And I'm not sure if it's going to be, I believe it's FRC Media that will be carrying that as well. And then the Thursday debate by the Herald News will be broadcast live on FRG TV, Channel 18 in Fall River. So everyone has an opportunity to see these debates. Ours, we know you definitely have the opportunity to ask the questions, and they will be asked, but it's now up to you. I mean, that's the way it is, Chip. It's up to the people now. They got to go out and vote.
You are right. Let's remember, I don't care who you vote for, but get out and vote. Let's make this election and every election after this election a true voice of the people. Let's not allow 15% or 12% or 18% of the people to determine what's going to happen for 100% of the voters. It's if you stay home, it's your fault. Let's make this, they talked about 5% in the recall. We actually got more than 10% of the votes because 5% would have been 2,465. And the fact is we got well over 5,500. And so we more than doubled that. So we were over 10%. We were probably 11 or 12, which have actually been the amount of people who voted in a regular election at time to time. So the reality is only you can fix government. And the only way to fix government is to vote. Vote and continue to go to the polls and vote your conscience.
Well, again, the day is over. Seems like it goes by faster and faster every time. I want to thank you all for watching Spindle City Straight Talk. Chip, always a pleasure to have your great commentaries. And remember, people, please come out Tuesday night, Morton Middle School, for the People's Debate. We want to see you there. Once again, thank you for watching. Chip?
See you at the debate.
views and opinions